Hello and welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexi, and today I have got Tristan Wright with me. How you going there, Tristan?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thanks, mate. Great to have you on the show, and thanks for finding the time. I know we're all busy, and while this is an interesting time of the year, some people are going vacations, other people are really putting in the hours. I'm thinking about myself here because we've got so much going on. Look, guys, if you've been listening to this podcast, we've got over 100 subscribers now, and we're getting close to our 50 podcasts. So we are well on track to hit our goals. And Tristan, I really appreciate your time because you're getting us closer to our goal as well. Mate, without taking away too much from you, tell us about Evolve to Grow. I mean, you've got quite an interesting business, and I think it sort of speaks for itself, but it sort of doesn't without you explaining what Evolve to Grow is all about.
Yeah, too easy. So Evolve to Grow, if you put us into a bucket, it's a business coaching consultancy. So we work with business owners, and our end objective is to help you run a profitable business that doesn't need your daily input. So we want you to be truly fulfilled with what you're doing and to be able to pick and choose when you want to work and make the money that you want. So that's our end objective, ultimate objective. Everything else falls in underneath that.
It's always interesting for me to speak to business coaches because every person has got their own vision of how the business is. And I guess, for most people, it sort of comes down to clarity. And
Yep.
then there's usually a framework behind the scenes. But I think you've taken another level further, deeper, I should say, and you think about fulfillment. So for our listeners, for those of you who may not follow or may not understand what business coaching is all about, what's fulfillment? I mean, what sort of role does this play in business owner's life or the business itself?
Well, it's almost anyone. At the end, so many of us just cruise through life and we don't have objectives and we're mediocre happy. Sometimes we say we're extra happy, sometimes we're less happy. But if we ask the question, are you fulfilled? A lot of people are not going to be able to answer that and say they haven't thought about it. So, but if I ask you the question now, fulfillment, that's what makes us happy. That's what fills our cup or fills our glass. It's what we're working towards. So for me, I want to help you as a business owner achieve true fulfillment in business and in your personal life. So it's not about just money. It's not about impact. It's not about results, because they're all encapsulated within fulfillment.
Mm.
Everyone's got their own meaning for fulfillment. Some people focus more on finance. Some people focus more on personal life experiences. But fulfillment can't be just one or two of those things. There's multiple things that bring that together.
Mm. I quite like that because this whole idea of Simon Sinek's start with why does sort of pop the question, but then every person you talk to has got a different interpretation of it. And then everyone looks at different aspects of why as well. And it's interesting. Some people are able to shuffle things around. Some people will say, hey, my goal behind this or my motivation behind this is this. But then fulfillment, I guess, becomes the product of the whole thing, which sort of takes it another degree further, which is
Yeah,
cool.
that's the end outcome after that. So the why the next level upon that is fulfillment, effectively. So because we care about, like, if we're fulfilled, we're able to then go and give back to others, or we're going to be happy, we're going to have a greater purpose or greater impact on the people around us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like it's fuel for this next big thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get into all this, mate? Surely you weren't doing all this business coaching all the time, and I'm sure there probably has been quite a lot of education and seminars you would have gone through to obtain this sort of knowledge.
Yeah. So yes and no. A lot of it's all self-taught. A lot of it's the school of hard knocks. And yeah, obviously seminars, educations. But I'm not one of those business coaches that got into jumped online and realized, hey, I can make lots of money through business coaching. I'm going to teach others to build a business, and I've never done one before. I had a sportswear business. So when I was in my early 20s, I was working as an engineer and I was riding bikes a lot. And a group of friends wanted some cycling clothes. And I got lumped with the duty of organizing the cycling clothes for them. And long story short, I ended off the back of it. I realized there was a gap in the market, and I built a custom sportswear business selling cycling, triathlon, running clothing, and doing 300K per annum before I went full time on it. Went full time on it, turned it into a 7-figure business. I was still in my mid-20s. I was super arrogant. I hadn't had any issues in life at all. Had no personal issues, no business issues. I didn't think I needed any help at all or any guidance. I'm like, what's a business coach? Who needs a business coach? I remember a time that I had a business coach or book a initial clarity meeting with me, and I had no idea that he was a business coach, and he was trying to coach me at the time. So I was just so naive to that in the early days. But time came when the Aussie dollar tanked. I was buying everything in the US dollar. So when the Aussie dollar tanked, my margin dropped significantly. And at the same time, my wife came to me and said, our marriage is over. So I had two major events that I had absolutely no idea how to deal with, happen within a 6-month time frame. So with that, I ended up being about 200 odd grand in debt, because I just put my head in the sand and buried it and didn't want to deal with life, didn't want to deal with business. And eventually I was like, I've got to get over myself. I can either go back to a day job and take 10 plus years to pay off that 200 grand debt, or I can get over myself, get support and guidance, learn from others, and rebuild the business, pay off the debt, and enjoy life. So that was my turning point. I was then able to rebuild the business to a point it didn't need me. Had a sales manager in place. He eventually purchased the business from me, and I was able to step out of it after having paid off the debt. I wasn't needed to run in the business, and made a bit of money out of it at the same time. So that's a sort of extended story about my background.
Wow. Well, that's a lot, to be honest, and especially, you have to relive those things and experience them. But I must say that, for anyone who's having a bit of rough patch or a bit of a bad run at the moment, I always like to think about it as, look, if something bad's happening right now, it means that something's good is just around the corner. And yes, sometimes bad things happen in bunches, 2 or 3, and you sort of put it all together, and it's hard, but at the same time, it sort of gives you kick up the bum in order for you to be able to do something, and really puts you in a different gear and a different perspective. And I think a lot of the time it's almost like you decide to change something, or if you don't change it for long enough, the world will change something for you, and oftentimes leaving you with a lot of debt and a lot of broken relationships as well. So it's interesting, but it's a part of the evolution, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're made to evolve in order to grow and even survive to a degree. I mean, one of my friends and clients have been talking about a concept of forced evolution. How a lot of businesses were able to transform over COVID, not because of them wanting to do it, but because of them having to do it. And as a result, you can see some really interesting avenues that sort of come into play, like a lot of personal trainers, for example, going online and coaching. And while some make it really difficult to do this, others have exploded and taken things completely to another level and discovered other markets. If you look at the Australian market, it's obviously quite tiny compared to the US market, and I guess where things could be. But anyway, so I mean, with this whole concept of evolve to grow, tell us more about the program. I mean, one-on-one coaching. Who is your client? I mean, how do you work with people in that business?
Yeah. So after I sold my previous business, I took a bit of time off trying to work out what I wanted to do next. And I was overseas in Croatia with Erin, my new partner, I don't know, 7 years ago. And we were talking about what I enjoyed, what I was good at, because I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And after a couple of glasses of red wine, we came to the conclusion that I love helping people. I've got a story, I've got a journey, I've actually got a bit of experience with business. Why don't I go and help others in their journey so they don't have to go through the highs and lows, the peaks and troughs that I went through? So fast forward, come back from Croatia, set up the business, made a few mistakes. But here I am now running a really successful coaching consultancy business, helping people along their journey. So for me, it's all about running your business with intent. We get into business. We don't often it's because we know we can do better, but we don't necessarily have a strategy in place. We don't know what our end outcome is. So anyone that I start to work with, we need to gain that clarity. We need to have alignment between our personal strategy and our business strategy. Often it's only both of them, maybe only a 3 out of 10. So we need to work on that before we work on anything else. And then often that means we've got to do a couple of mindset fixes. But once we've got that alignment between our personal and business strategy, we've then got clarity on where we want to get to. What is our ultimate objective? What is our North Star? Then it's a lot easier to work backwards, create a roadmap and work backwards to be able to achieve that goal. So businesses often focus on either setting up the systems first or growing or selling first. It's not necessarily in the correct order. So once we've got that clarity, really we need to work on growth. We need to put equal effort into brand sales and marketing to be able to start to get results. We've got clarity, we've got brand sales and marketing, that gives us growth, that gives us results. That's effectively creating the mess in the business, because if we've got results for our clients, we're going to hit capacity really quickly. So we're going to have a mess to clean up. So we need to work out then how to simplify the business. We need to put in place systems around money. We need to, how we do our operations, how we manage our people. That gives us simplification, which then allows us to increase our capacity. So if we've got results for our clients, for our business, we've increased our capacity. That's our first stepping stone to give the business owner freedom. And then we go through that cycle again and again. So it's a continual evolving cycle. So effectively, we're looking for results. We're looking for capacity, improving capacity, which gives us freedom. And all of those things gives us that true fulfillment.
Okay. Look, I work with quite a few business coaches, and I have to ask you, I mean, do you find a lot of businesses, once they start drilling and digging deep into their why, into their purpose and everything, actually give up on their businesses to move on to do something else? Do you get much of that?
No, not really. I think I'm fortunate enough that the sector that I'm in, the types of clients I'm in, and the type of people that I attract through my marketing, they're already partially connected or to that end objective. So I don't attract startup businesses that are sort of a bit lost. They've gone through a couple of hurdles. So because I've already been through a couple of hurdles, they're sort of already heading in that correct direction. So often there's a bit of refinement. There is a lot of the time they're working long hours. And once we work out how to reduce those long hours, they get that passion back for the reason they started the business in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I guess, your qualifying process must be very different to attract the right sort of people. I do find, yes, you're absolutely right. Startups oftentimes are not sure exactly what they're doing. And oftentimes once they sort of hit a hurdle, they do want to sort of change things up. But I do also meet some businesses who have been doing something for 20, 30 years, but they haven't had the courage to basically step away from it because it's been their cash cow. And then, you get kids, mortgages, investments, and everything else sort of happens. But yeah, it's always interesting to work with a spectrum of people. I've got clients, that run fishing charters, to people that do investment property portfolios, and everyone's got a different drive. But obviously, having people as clients who share the same values as you, who basically are fun to be with, and just overall sort of share your view of life, really make it easier to sort of connect and work with them. Absolutely.
Totally. A big thing is that I have to teach and remind my clients is the business is actually a tool for life. We've got to separate our personal identity from our business identity. It's okay if you don't work in the business 40 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours a week, because all it is at the end of the day is a tool.
Hmm.
It's nothing more.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably right. I mean, obviously, it depends what you do, because if you were to talk about some, I guess, counselors and psychologists and people who sort of look a little bit deeper, then for a lot of them, it's actually a fulfillment. That's how I guess some people end up writing books. But in general sense, I think you're right. Yeah.
Mm. Well, yeah, it's a tool. It's a tool for life. Like that, their business, they get their fulfillment from supporting others. They get their fulfillment from the one-on-one part of it. So they've accepted, and in that case, their values are more around supporting others than making large amounts of money, kind
Mm.
of thing. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, listening to your story, sort of had a couple of light bulbs go. So let me guess, you've read Tim Ferriss, I would imagine, 4 Hour Work Week.
All of the books. So yeah, so
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm not sure if you noticed, but there is a bit of a parallel of Tim being in college when he was doing all the supplement stuff. That did sound like your story a little bit, but yeah, I don't think he talks much about failure in there. And the whole 4 hour work week concept obviously is very, very inspiring. So, in your experience, and I guess in terms of your education, what would you recommend to business owners as literature, or I guess podcasts, or anything that can help them sort of get in the right sort of path?
Good question. The answer I'm going to give you today is different to the answer that I gave you 12 months ago. I would have given you 12 months ago. Really important thing as you're growing and scaling your business is understanding different personality types, what makes people tick, and what allows people to grow and evolve, and understanding that person X is not going to do a job the same as person Y. So this is all based around leadership. So leadership books that talk around different personality types and different motivation types, and how to best utilize those personality types within your business. Uh, don't expect someone that is very detail focused to be able to then go and work with you and plan your strategy, for instance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, look,
That's not the
obviously,
answer you're expecting, is it?
no, not really. I was really hoping to hear some specific book names and author names and stuff.
David Goggins, Leif Babin, those sorts of books, like they're leadership focused books that Leif Babin, Jocko Willink, they use real life examples
Mm.
from when they were in the military, when they were Navy SEALs, and then so Leif Babin, Jocko Willink, they've got a management consultancy company. They use their real life examples of how they were leading their teams and dealing with different personality types, and then apply that back to business world scenarios.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't know. Have you read the Jocko Willink, Leif
Yep. Yep.
Babin books?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I have. Yeah. And yeah, David Goggins as well. It's a great book as well. I guess what I like about their books is they're a little bit sort of closer and easier to understand, in the sense that things are very modern. Sometimes it
Mm,
feels like, okay, you read, the E-Myth, or I don't know, Chicken Soup, or one of those books. It
yeah.
feels like it's been so long ago, and principles, while they seem good, and like they're not so relevant, I guess, in our sense. Maybe it's a generational thing. But then once you start digging through some more modern books, you can really connect to what people are going through. Because I don't know if people used to run crazy marathons back in the 60s and 70s, but certainly, David Goggins running his ultra marathon makes it a really bright example of things that are fairly trendy right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So um yeah, like E-Myth, all of that are from the 80s and 90s, and yeah, the new books, like, it's a lot easier to associate with.
Absolutely, yeah. And I like some of the local Australian authors as well. One of my favorite books is The Resilience Project. Hugh Van Kallenberg, he's from
Yep.
Melbourne. He actually runs a podcast as well. I mean, his story just seems like a normal story of anyone you would know, but he goes so deep in the whole thing and really deconstructs the concept. But yeah, I really like, I guess, Australian authors. So if anyone's listening and thinking, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, definitely write a book, because every book definitely makes an impact to the right audience. And that's my biggest tip to our listeners. So, with your business right now, I guess, do you run workshops? Do you run seminars? How do people connect with you if they wanted to find out more about what you do?
So easiest way is just to Google me, Tristan Wright or Evolve to Grow. At the end of the day, it's all on a ongoing basis. So monthly retainer type work, because I'm a big believer you're not going to get results in 1 or 2 weeks. It's an ongoing process. So yeah, I work with clients one-on-one group style using that framework that I discussed. Yeah.
Okay. And any tips for our listeners? I guess if anyone is, running an existing business, staff, marketing, sort of feels a little bit stuck. I mean, obviously 2023 has been a bit of a challenging year with a lot of interest rates, rising, logistical chain still probably not ideal from all the COVID stuff, all the basic operational stuff, plus obviously staff and all the mental health stuff, which is obviously a huge topic. Any tips that you can give to any business owners listening and thinking, hey, I sort of know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it, but I'm just looking for a quick win or somewhere to basically focus in.
Number one is separate your personal identity from your business identity, so you can remove emotion from the decisions that you make within the business. Because often, if times are tough, or we're at a time where we've got to make decisions that we haven't made before, emotion comes into play, and when emotion comes into play, we make poor decisions. So we need to separate whatever happens in our business from our personal identity. So whether it's good or bad, we can't. It's not a reflection on who we are as a person. That's step number one. Then at the end of the day, all of our messaging has to be around the problem that we solve, and the solution being how the solution that we provide is best for that problem. So many people don't have that message. They just say they're a transport company or they're fishing charter company. If we use emotion in our messaging and talk to the problem and how we solve it better than anyone else, you're more likely to make conversions.
Yeah, well, that's pretty deep, because I think that's what really makes up the secret sauce
Mm.
behind each business. And I guess that's the $1 million thing that everyone wants to get. But a lot of people have it in their business without even realizing, while others spending gazillions of dollars on coaches and branding specialists to be able to establish it and still can't quite get it.
Yeah. So often a successful business has got it. A business that's been in business for 5 or 10 years has already got it. They just don't know how to articulate it. And then there's other businesses that are spending money, but they're probably too young to be able, or the business is too small to be able to afford a proper consultancy to give them the advice. So they try and shortcut it, and they end up going around in circles by using cheaper providers that don't have the experience.
Okay, cool.
That's my controversial opinion. So don't
Okay.
take shortcuts.
Yeah, that's a good advice, I think. Well, mate, look, we covered a lot of different things, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who'd be asking more questions. So if anyone's got any questions, make sure you comment below and reach out. But one of the things I've been pushing in my podcast, especially when I get a guest, is I've got this section called Rapid Fire. This is where I ask you, a pretty specific question, and I just want a quick answer. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So football, is that AFL or
AFL.
soccer?
AFL.
Coming from a Melbourneian.
Yep.
Your favorite personal development book?
Ah, geez. Jim Rohn, the Jim Rohn series.
Okay. Australia is obviously the best country in the world, but besides Australia, what's the best country in the world?
There's no second. There's no third. There's daylight. So, um, I'm going to say countries that I've enjoyed traveling to, Croatia and Israel.
Great. Well, definitely not something that most people have visited, but being to some of those countries definitely opens up a completely different dimension to the world.
Yeah,
Mate,
Israel. Traveling to Israel is a very informative process.
yeah,
So
well, I think whether you're a spiritual person or not, there's definitely lots to explore there, mate. This
correct.
has been a great interview, and look, hopefully our listeners have enjoyed that as well. I absolutely love when we talk directly to our guests and basically are able to drill down on their story and also understand a little bit more about the motivation behind how they did things as well. Tristan, thanks very much for finding the time. And look, I wish your business all the best. And look, because it's December, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone else.
Thanks. Look, that was Tristan Wright from Evolve to Grow. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And look, if you'd like to share that with your friends, family, make sure you don't forget to get them to subscribe and hit the like button, which actually helps us rank a little bit more as well. My name is Alexi. This is Better Business Podcast, and I'll speak to you soon.